Meanwhile, my colleague from the Ashanti region, Prince Appiah, spent a moment with a young startup on the budget and brings us this report.
The 2022 budget statement and economic policy had a theme: building a sustainable entrepreneurial nation, fiscal consolidation, and job creation. This meant that it is supposed to create an economic environment conducive enough to enable businesses, especially startups and entrepreneurs, to thrive. In a jiffy, I'll be speaking to an entrepreneur to understand what this particular budget means to him and his business. This is Samoa, a young businessman who has invested in the sachet water business in Kumasi when he moved back from his base in the United States of America. He was hopeful of a reduction in fuel prices because of the impact on his business.
We deal in production and transportation, so it does really affect our business because as I said a couple of weeks ago, we were buying about close to 2,000 for a week. Now we are doing almost 3,000. But then the products, we are still selling at the same price. We're looking for some reliefs so it can reduce our operational cost or expenditure, but nothing came up, and I'm really disappointed.
Among the few revelations from the budget was the introduction of the 1.75 e-levy on Momo and other electronic transactions. Mr. Samoa is worried this will affect his operations.
Now it looks like we have to resort to cash and checks because we are going to have to pay extra when we do electronic transactions. I do Momo transaction like 5,000 a day, close to 10,000 at some point. So I'm going to pay 1.75 or a levy on it. I'm going to save money, especially if I'm paying too much for fuel already, and there's already other taxes going on with it. So I think it defeats the idea of promoting electronic transactions per the vice president's digital whatever that he's trying to do. It's actually going to make me not do electronic transactions. So 1 billion Ghana cedis every year for a period of 3 years meant to boost and capitalize the SME startup ecosystem. That's under the new initiative, the You Start initiative announced by the finance minister during the budget presentation. But already there are concerns about access to funds from initiatives like this. It's huge as a policy to try to empower entrepreneurs. However, how to access the money, it's a problem. Because most of these things, when the government structures something, it's going to be politically motivated. If you are not part of the government or know somebody in government, you will not be able to access these facilities. Talking to the banks to increase portfolio for SMEs, yes, good policy, fantastic. However, if you give me 1 million cedis and you expect me to pay that money in a year, how am I going to pay you? If you give me 100,000 cedis for me to pay in a year, you're taking almost 11,700 a month. So I can complete the payment in a year. How am I going to pay it? So those are some of the things they should look at.
With a staff of more than 20 people, he is unable to increase their salaries due to the continuous rise in operational costs.
Employees are looking for increments in wages or salaries, and we are not able to do it because there is increment in fuel prices. We have not been able to increase prices of products because we're looking at it's a product that basically goes with the people who can afford luxury. So it's not something that you can really increase prices easily. It's just going to reduce the profit margin. And I'm ready to bear it because my employees they're not supposed to be responsible for that.
The 2022 budget has benchmark values abolished, road tolls scrapped, and withholding taxes reduced to 1.5%. Are these positive enough for business owners like Samoa?
It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Put a lot of taxes on fuel, and then you decide to reduce the tax on withholding tax. Individually, it's good that there has been a reduction, but generally, it's still the same.
Kofi is among the many Ghanaian businesses who had expected more in the 2022 budget. Prince Appiah reporting.
Well, Sharif Gali is Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs. He joins us with some reaction on the You Start initiative. Sharif, we're grateful that you could join us. For starters, Sharif, the name You Start sounds very cool, but are you sold on it yet? It speaks of training, funding, access to competitive credit, and enterprise promotion.
Yes, thank you very much, Charles. It's something that we have taken a look at as a chamber, and it reflects our inputs, our call for support for young entrepreneurs. So it really sits well. And we can say that for this time, the government or the ministry have gotten it right on supporting young entrepreneurs with the Youth Start initiative. So yes, it's something that we are in for. And we are glad that finally we have an initiative like this. Now we will be talking about the implementation and how exactly we are going to make sure this works.
Well, but the initiative proposes, about 1 billion cedis each and every year to catalyze an ecosystem to create 1 million jobs. They're getting to increase their SME portfolio of banks up to about 5 billion over the next 3 years and easing the tax burden. Is this far-reaching enough for entrepreneurs?
No. It is that exactly what we are looking for, that a fund should be set up that young people should be able to access this funding. And the minister has indicated that 1 million fund for each year for 3 years, that's exactly what they are going to do. And I kind of like how it's being segregated. We have the district level loans, we have the startup loans, we have the SME support to the banks that will empower them to be able to give loans. So yes, Charles, I say that this one, they really got it right, and it is as how we want it to be. I'm sure what we should be talking about is how the implementation should be done, and that's what the chamber has to say.
In fact, we shall be looking forward to the post-budget discussions to get, a clear understanding of how this is going to go. But Sharif, let's also have this discussion on the e-levy, because you rightly heard from Prince Appiah, our correspondent from Kumasi, speak to an entrepreneur who raised serious concerns about the rippling effect that this could have on his profit margins. How are entrepreneurs from the chamber responding to this entire implementation of the e-levy system?
That we actually decided to break down the budget and for our members to understand and make their comment. I would say that as it stands now, we are still getting comments from our members, but it's divided. I can say about 50% of our members think that, well, if government is going to set a youth start with that amount of money, where do we expect the government? We need to be honest sometimes. Where do we expect the government to get the money from? So taxing us, because this is directly targeted at we, the young people. Why do I say so? Because we use the mobile money. We are more or less using the electronic payment than any other person. Our online engagement, selling online.
Exactly.
And almost so the young people are the people using it even more than any other person. Most of these industries, big industries, use their checkbooks and all those things. So yes, it's going to have an effect. But you see, we are a chamber that do not only promote support for our members, but also look at how our members can also support the development of our nation. So if the government is willing to part 1 billion every year to support us and allow us access credit that we've been crying for. So what is wrong with parting? Also parting something to support the government in way of e-levy. So as it stands now, the chamber is not against the levy, neither are we for it. We are not for it in the sense that we are saying that the government should not just blast the 1.7% on us like that. It is too harsh. Very, very harsh to just blast the 1.7%. We are saying it should be incremental. Government should really reconsider this. So maybe as this year or next year as we start, 0.5%. And as we grow, then maybe it can be increased. But just the 1.75 is our problem. Aside that, for us as a chamber of young entrepreneurs representing the mouthpiece of young people in business, we do not really think it's too much an issue, because we need to find a way of supporting the government to support us. And if it is parting away something to support the government, why not? We are in for it. But then it's too high, starting with the 1.75%.
Indeed, Sheriff, we're grateful that you could join us with your input. He's the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Entrepreneurs, helping us understand and appreciate the thoughts of entrepreneurs on, first of all, the e-levies system, as well as the U-Start policy that government intends to implement.